For a start, we've got to ask ourselves, what crime are these people committing? And it's very clear that beheadings, that the attacks on Christian and Shia and minority religious groups in which citizens are executed, execution without trial, and so forth, amount to war crimes, they amount to crimes against humanity, and I would say that there is a strong case that they amount to genocide. Now, these crimes in 1995 were put in the Australian Crimes Act. We can prosecute them here. So we don't need new laws against this barbarian behaviour. We need to implement our own laws.
And what about beyond Australia, in Iraq itself? Do you think that there is a legal case for military intervention in Iraq?
Well, there is certainly an overwhelming case for humanitarian intervention because people are being threatened with genocide. Innocent civilians, men, women and children, in law-abiding, quiet communities are being rounded up and killed. We have to act. We have a moral duty. There is a moral imperative, whether you call it the Good Samaritan duty, which I have, or it all came about quite recently. I think Kosovo was the first time that it was accepted that there was a duty to act to prevent mass murder of civilians, and that undoubtedly is right. The difficulty, of course, comes when you can't just relieve starvation by dropping parcels. When an innocent community is surrounded by barbarians, you have to take it morphs into armed force to prevent their killing, and that sometimes means that you have to kill those who are threatening them. That is inevitable, I think. The question of whether the West should again be embroiled in the Middle East is a very different question.
Tonight you're giving a lecture in honour of Samuel J. Griffiths, who was Australia's first Chief Justice, and the title of it is Global Integrity. In it you talk about a number of things, including spying and how it is that we can maintain and create ethical legal guidelines globally for spying. Obviously a big issue for Australia, particularly with respect to Indonesia and East Timor lately. How do you think we could achieve or even agree on new guidelines on spying?
Well, you know, we talk about global integrity. What is the one organisation internationally that every state has that has no integrity at all, that in fact is expected to act amorally? Its only logo is the end justifies the means. Well, it's our spy organisations. Every one of the G20 countries has massive spy organisations. Some of them have been revealed by Edward Snowden, and it's provoked, as President Obama said, the debate we have to have. And when we talk about global integrity, we've got to ask ourselves, is it any longer sustainable that these organisations invariably work outside the law? They have no sensible legal oversight. I think it's time that organisations that are involved in secret surveillance should have at least an agreed code of conduct in relation to their activities. And that is one of the issues that I'm suggesting that the G20 should tackle.
And in your Griffith lecture tonight, you also tackle the question of judicial independence. You have some rather interesting suggestions for how that should be handled. Can you explain to us kind of what the problem is and what we should do about it?
In honour of Sir Samuel, and in perhaps reflecting on recent judicial appointments in Queensland, I'm talking about the problem of judicial independence. I've just done a report for the International Bar Association on the problems of judicial independence around the world, because in the great majority of countries, judges are not independent. They're government lickspittles, and they decide cases because of government pressure. And this report, which studies this phenomenon, finds that you cannot get a fair trial if you're up against the government in most countries of the world. And I think that should be on the agenda of the G20.